Hello security gurus, welcome to this new lecture. In this lecture, we are going to understand the basics of GitHub Actions before we implement it. So let's see. GitHub Actions is a continuous integration and continuous delivery platform that helps us to automate our build pipeline. It requires some components to achieve this functionality. So the first component in that list is workflows. So basically a workflow file is a YAML file that is placed under .github/workflows folder. So within this YAML file, we will write the entire code required to run our pipeline. We can create different workflow files for different projects. For example, if we are running a build pipeline for Java project, we can have a separate workflow file. If we are running a .NET project, we can have a separate workflow file for .NET project and a separate workflow file for Node.js project as well. All these different workflow files will be placed under .github/workflows folder. So this is the first component that GitHub Actions need. The second component in the list is events. So basically, we would like to trigger our pipeline on a certain event. It can be a push event when a developer has committed new code to our source code repo and we would like to run some test on that new code, or if someone has raised a pull request and then we would like to run our pipeline in order to run some tests on that pull request. So those events can be defined within the workflow file and trigger our workflow file based on the required event. So third component in the list is jobs. So basically jobs are the steps within a workflow file grouped together. So basically whatever steps we will write within the workflow file, we will put those steps under jobs section so that we can club it. The next component in the list is actions. So actions is a custom application or code published by some organization for executing a particular task. For example, very popular tool SonarQube has published GitHub Actions so that you can use their GitHub Actions code and put in your workflow file under jobs section and then just trigger it in order to run the SonarQube analysis or code quality analysis on your source code. So that is what actions is. The last component in the list is runner. So basically runner is a machine or server which runs our workflow. It is similar to our on-premises server where we used to run our build jobs. Here a runner is provided by GitHub itself and we just run our code on their server and we can select the specific server based on our requirement. So this is what GitHub Actions is and the components that it requires in order to achieve the functionality. So this was the introduction by GitHub. I hope you have learned something new from this lecture and you are now clear with the basics of GitHub Actions, because in the upcoming lectures we need to use these basics to implement GitHub Actions and write our custom workflow files. So in the next few lectures, I'm going to show some basic examples of each component and syntax for each component so that your understanding is concrete about each component of GitHub Actions. And once we are good with the basics of GitHub Actions, we will start directly into the demo part where we will write our custom workflow file. We will use some actions published by organizations like SonarCloud, OWASP, ZAP, and SNCC. I will explain about organization and their security tools so that you are aware about the functionality of those tools. And I will also present you a case study of a Java application where we will implement an end-to-end pipeline which would contain all the steps in our real-life project, starting from building the code, running the unit test, running the SonarQube analysis or SAST, which is static application security testing, then running the software composition analysis, and then running the DAST, which is dynamic application security testing, so that at the end of this course you are ready to implement the entire pipeline for a Java project or any other project and you can work directly on a live project for implementing GitHub Actions. I hope you have enjoyed this lecture. Thanks for watching. See you in the next lecture.